Hi, I'm Scott Engel. I'm Vice President for IFAS. That's the Institute of Food and Agricultural Sciences. This is Seafood at Your Fingertips, which is part of the Sea Grant program at the University of Florida. And I want to do something for you today that I grew up with. I spent my entire life living in the Chesapeake Bay region. As a child, I'd go out in the bay and the rivers and estuarine areas and catch crabs, would bring them home. And on a Sunday afternoon, you'd take a couple dozen crabs, you would steam them with usually salt and Old Bay. You'd throw them on the middle of a table and you would pick them over a course of a couple hours. The adults would drink National Bohemian beer, the kids would have root beer, and it was really a summertime Sunday activity that I grew up with. But as I've gotten older, I've gotten lazy and I'm not willing to pick crabs anymore. It takes 10 or 15 minutes to go through one crab, and it was literally an all-day event. So I've begun to eat more crab cakes because they are easy, they are lazy, and they are absolutely amazing. If you make them the right way and use the right ingredients, I think that you'll find, and I hope you agree with me, that this is really one of my favorite foods, and so that's why I wanted to share this recipe with the audience. My brother has a restaurant up in Baltimore, and he occasionally has won the best crab cake of Baltimore, which is quite a distinction coming from that city that really prides itself in good crab cakes. So mine is a bit of a derivation of his recipe. I'm not really a purist when it comes to crab cakes. You can put a lot of different things in there. You can use a lot of different ingredients. What matters, and the most important thing to a good crab cake, is using good crab meat. So you can, if you got good crab meat, you can vary the recipe, and everyone has their own little derivation of what they want to put into it, but it all goes back to some very simple ingredients. I prefer to keep a simple crab cake, not put a lot of extra ingredients in there to let the sweet taste of the crab meat come through. And I think as you try good quality crab meat, you're going to agree with me that it's really a simple recipe is really the way to go. The problem with all this is that good quality crab meat is expensive. Cheap crab meat is not expensive. Don't ever buy cheap crab meat and put that into a crab cake. You get a bad crab cake no matter how well you make it, no matter how well it's cooked. But if you take good crab meat, you can do a lot of different things to it. You can almost abuse it, and it's still going to come out as a fabulous meal. So you have to have jumbo lump crab meat. That's what this is. Typically, when I was a child, I would go to the bay or some of the tributaries, and you'd buy crab meat right off of the boat or right after it's been picked. So it was still fresh. It was unpasteurized. It wasn't that expensive back then, but that was a long time ago too. So I had to go to the store and buy some jumbo lump crab meat. That's what this says on it. But it's been pasteurized, and you lose some of the real sweet quality of the meat when it is pasteurized, but it's still great. The whole trick to good crab cakes is to preserve the integrity of these crab lumps. So I'm going to go through and show you how to do that, show you my recipe of what we put into it. We're going to cook it and then try it and see if people who are here with me today agree that it's one of the best crab cakes they've ever eaten. So the first thing you do when you make crab cakes is you have to wash your hands, because you've got to sift through the crab meat, and you've got to pull out pieces of shell. There's other things that I don't even know what they are sometimes in crabs, so you've got to wash your hands really well, because you are not going to be wearing gloves. You don't have enough of you can't feel enough of the texture when you do that, and you don't want to get any germs in your crab cakes, especially if you don't eat them the same day, because then that becomes a food safety issue. So the first thing you do, you open up the crab meat, and you can see that in here, sometimes you need to drain it, especially when it is pasteurized. And you can see that there are fairly large jumbo lumps of meat. That's the whole key, jumbo lump crab meat. These are big pieces. And the whole trick to making a good crab cake is to make sure that those pieces stay intact. But you've got to sift through them now, because there could be things in there that you don't want to eat, such as pieces of shell. So I always, first of all, go through each piece. You're kind of feeling for pieces of shell, other things that just don't look right and shouldn't be in there. You got to do the whole can. See, these are big pieces of crab meat. This comes from kind of the back leg of the crab. You know, crabs have pinchers and claws, and then they have 3 legs. The back claw is called the back fin, and it's the kind of the body part where the back fin leg is attached, where this piece of meat comes from. And this is the good part that you want. So you dig through here. This is pretty good crab meat. I'm not finding anything that I don't want to eat. I'm going to do another one. You generally, and for my recipe, I take a pound of crab meat. Each one of these containers is a half a pound of crab meat. So again, you go through it very gently, keeping all of the pieces together. Don't let them break apart. Looking for pieces of shell. I think there's a little piece. And there's our crab meat. So again, you got to wash your hands. I have sometimes not rinsed the soap off my hand, and my crab cakes taste a little soapy. So I have done it appropriately this time. And now we are going to begin to mix up the other ingredients that are going to go into it. And so first of all, I don't measure things generally, but typically you would use about 2/3 to 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. And if you're from Maryland, where the crab cake capital of the world, you will use Duke's mayonnaise. It's sold all throughout the South. Crab cake aficionados say it makes a difference. I guess it does. But about 2/3, 3/4 of a cup of mayonnaise. And you can put if you want more crab cakes that are more moist, you can put in a little bit more mayonnaise. If you don't want them as moist, you can put in less. Next, you add a tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. That looks like a tablespoon. Next, you need to use not a gourmet mustard, a yellow mustard, plain yellow mustard. This would be the Heinz variety. Put in a tablespoon of that as well. Again, don't use something that is more of a gourmet mustard. It has to be this plain yellow mustard. Then you need to add 1 egg. And then lastly, and this is really your own preference, Old Bay is kind of the classic seasoning for crab cakes. Put in as much as you want. I don't put in very much at all because, again, I like to taste the crab meat and the flavor of it, so I use this just because kind of a very gentle background. I'd probably put in, that's maybe 1 teaspoon. And that's it. And so now you mix up the entire thing. I did bring a whisk with me. So you mix this up. And once we're done, we're going to very, very gently fold it into the crab meat. And that's where another one of the tricks comes in. If you are too rough while you are doing this, then you begin to break up some of the crab meat pieces, and the whole thing can fall apart at that point. So I will need another instrument here. So try to get as much of this out of the bowl as possible. And then I'm going to fold it together with my hands. You can't use a spoon, a fork, because you'll literally break up the pieces of crab meat. So you very, very gently fold this together, which I am doing now. Now, I've used a pound of crab meat. You can get about 4 crab cakes out of a pound using this recipe. And if you're a little less generous, you can get 5, and I've seen sometimes people actually get 6 crab cakes out of a pound of crab meat. There is one more thing that you're going to fold into it now. And this also has to be quite gentle. Put 6 saltine crackers. There's not enough binding material in here to hold these together. So I've always used salted saltine crackers. Again, nothing fancy at all. Take 6 of them, and you simply break them up into your mixture, pretty fine pieces. That was 2, 3, 4. And then you put 2 pieces of bread, and you need to use Wonder white bread. And if you don't, I don't know why, but it never works out. So I've got some Wonder bread here. You got to take the crust off of it, and you break it up into small pieces, and then we are going to also fold it into the mix of the crab cake and the other ingredients. At that point, it's going to be ready to go. So pretty small pieces here. Because again, this is what's going to hold the crab cake together. It's the crab meat, the mayonnaise. I've forgotten to put in bread and crackers before, and it just kind of becomes I think you would call that crab imperial at that time, because it just kind of flows onto the container where you're cooking it. So one more time, I'm going to fold it together, get all of this good stuff mixed up together now. I'm still being very gentle to prevent the pieces of crab meat from being broken apart. We're getting towards the end now. The next step will be to cook it. Now you can cook crab cakes in a number of different ways. In my brother's restaurant, he'll cook it however you want it. He'll fry it, he will bake it, he can cook it in a hot pan. I prefer to just cook it in an oven. We're going to cook it in a hot oven. It's at 425 degrees. Again, I'm washing my hands one more time. And I'm going to form it just into a ball. Put it into a pan. I'm also going to put a little bit of dab of butter on it. Generally, this is about the size you normally want. Again, this is a really rich food. So just form it into a ball. Is that kind of a small baseball, lacrosse ball size, I guess. So I'll be able to get 4 or 5 of these out of it. Looks like I'll probably do 4 because they're kind of big. And we are ready to just about cook after I can get some butter on top of it. The butter will help it brown up a little bit. It gives it a little bit different flavor. Not everyone does add a dab of butter to the top, but I like that because especially when you cook it in the oven, it seems to make it a little bit nicer. Okay, now I'm going to dab of butter on top of each one. See, these are big dabs, by the way. And from here, it's going to go directly into the oven at 425 degrees. The oven has been preheated. And it will cook for about 15 minutes. Everyone's oven is a little bit different. You want it to be a very nice golden brown. It's going to be hot in the middle, but you absolutely don't want to overcook it because once it starts to dry out, then you start to lose a lot of that sweet taste of the crab meat, which is really what this is all about. It's the jumbo lump crab meat. So once again, the whole trick to all of this is good quality crab meat, keeping the jumbo lumps together, not breaking them up. It's simple, but it's a wonderful, wonderful meal. So we're going to wait here for a couple minutes and be back in probably 15 minutes, and we'll pull it out of the oven. Okay, well, I think we're about ready to pull our crab cakes out of the oven. So these are made out of, from blue crabs, which again, blue crabs grow all over the world. I've been in Thailand and Indonesia and Australia. You can find blue crabs anywhere. But it's important to get blue crabs from the right place. If they're in water that's too salty, then they have an off taste to them. It's often fishy. If they're in water that has too much fresh water in it, then it often doesn't have any flavor at all. So it's important, and what you're always looking for are blue crabs that come from usually tidal areas or where the rivers meet the ocean, which we would typically call a bay. So we've got a lot of those here in Florida. We've got some great places, and we've got great crabs that come out of these bays and these rivers. It's exactly the right mix of freshwater and saltwater. So I hope all of you are going to go find some fresh crab meat. It's not that easy to find, but find it, make these crab cakes, and you'll probably agree this is one of the best things you've ever eaten. So let's go ahead and pull these out of the oven. And they are just right. Sometimes they do fall apart a little bit. Nothing wrong with that. Sometimes halfway through cooking, if you want to nudge those pieces back into the ball of crab meat, you can do that. But these are ready to go, and they look absolutely perfect. I hope they taste that way. Move them out onto the plate. Oh. And be a little more gentle than I am being. I've broken 2 of the 3. Let me try one more. This one worked a little better. So fell apart a little bit during the cooking, but that's okay. You can put these other pieces on top or to the side. This is exactly how they're supposed to look, and I'm pretty sure these are going to be absolutely amazing. So crabs are good any place and any time. I hope you eat lots and lots of crab. I hope it all comes from Florida, because we've got some of the best in the world right here. And thank you for being a part of Seafood at Your Fingertips through Sea Grant.